Hi, I'm Trip Babbitt, and I wanted to put a video out of one of the most important tools that I think most executives don't use, and they should be, and it will give you a competitive advantage not only in your career but for your organization. And I am shocked, literally shocked, that more executives are not using this tool. So, I don't know whether it's something that they're scared of or what the issue is, but it's an issue. So, what we're going to do is we're going to look at data in a way, and I'll put it up on the screen, put myself down in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, and walk you through 5 different charts that'll explain the importance of it and what you can glean from it. Now, let's start with how you currently most likely look at data, and that is this first chart, which it's not an Excel spreadsheet, but you probably have them on an Excel spreadsheet, are things like your sales data, and that's what I'm using as an example for these charts. And they'll all be the same data sets, but they'll go into different formats as I walk you through the 5 charts. So in chart 1, you're strictly looking at your data off of an Excel spreadsheet or some type of sheet that looks similar to what you're seeing on the screen now. And this is how most executives manage from that. And as you can tell, you get these are monthly sales in thousands, and 610,000 the first month, and then it went to 655, then went to 595,000. So now, if you're managing this and you don't have the tool that I'm going to show you, you may react wrongly to the data that you're seeing in your organization. So you may look at 610 to 655. Oh man, great! We've got sales are up this month, and then the next month it went down to 595,000. Oh, they're loafing, they're goofing off, and the salespeople need to get with it. So I'm going to go give them a talking to. And then the next month, 660,000. Wow, my talk must have really worked. I am a great manager. And wow, I'm very excited about my ability to manage because I got on them and made the sales go back up. So that's chart 1, and that's how most organizations will manage things. And it's almost psychotic from a standpoint of the highs and lows you get from one month to another. And so we need a different way to look at it. And kind of the first, I guess, the beginner step of taking it from an Excel spreadsheet is to take it to a run chart, which is the second chart I'm putting up here now, which shows the data with data points, right? And we can kind of see trends going on. You might see some things that are happening with these data. It's a bit better because we can see these patterns. And look at these last 5 points, right? We kind of bottomed out, and then we've kind of gone back up, and that may reinforce some of the things that we're doing, saying, boy, we do a great job of finally getting sales bottomed out in October at 591,000, and now look at it going up incrementally. So we're on a good trend now. So those are the first, especially the first chart is going to be what you're going to see most executives use. Second chart, run chart, I see it occasionally, but not much. And now we start into the third chart. Now the third chart here shows us a number of things, right? And I'm not going to go through in intricate detail because I just want to get you interested in it in this video. So the first thing is I'm going to take these 12 data points and I've put them on a run chart in chart 2. And now in chart 3, we have what are called control limits, and they're figured from the data themselves. I didn't make them up. They come from the data. And what it is the average you see on the chart is 634.7 plus or minus 3 standard deviations, and the software calculates this. And so now we can see the upper control limit is 763.1, and the lower control limit is 506.3, or 506,300 in case, since this is all these data are in thousands. So now we can start to look at these data and say, okay, so what are the data really telling us about what's going on with this data set? Well, we know that's predictable. So what does that mean? It means everything between 763,000, the upper control limit, and 506,000 it makes the data set stable. It's in between those limits. It's not every it's kind of like when you go and play golf. You don't shoot 72 every day, or 80 every day, or 90 or 100. It varies, right, from day to day. And it has nothing to do with having a good day versus a bad day. It typically has to do with what your system is capable of doing, or how good a golfer you are in this case. So we're going to get variation from day to day. And so this is what this chart is basically telling us, is that the last 12 months, there is nothing unusual going on. So if I was playing golf, I might be shooting between 70 and, let's say, 78. I average, let's say, 74. And now I've got a system that is capable of shooting those types of scores. But I'm not going to shoot 70 every day or 74 every day. That's just the average, right? So this is what these data are telling us, that this system is stable, that it's predictable, and it's going to seem funny, but it's also random. Those are the 3 ways to describe these particular data. With regards to the last 4 data points, if we were just to look at a run chart, we might have concluded that we got some type of trend going, but not really. There's nothing unusual going on with these last 4 data points. This is what the control chart can help weed out in our brains, so that we're managing what's going on. I wasn't a great manager when I went back in April of 2020. We went from 595, or excuse me, May of 2020, when I went from 595,000 to 660,000. It's still between the limits. It's just bouncing along in there in between the control limits. And this becomes very important to how we manage. Now, remember, I call this the 95 method, my methods that I use. That means 95% of the performance down to the system that you work in, and 5% is attributable to the individual or special cause or events. Now, when I look at these data, they're all within the control limits, meaning the issues are associated with the system, not a special event, not an individual. It has to do with the system. So I need to focus on improving the system. That's why in becoming an effective executive, you've got to become a synthetic thinker. You've got to be able to look at a system and understand that there are a lot of interactions going on in the organization, and that a system is greater than the sum of the parts, that an analytical thinker, and you go look at some of the videos that I put into YouTube that go into this, and I'll put the link in here, but it's all over most of my videos, is so that you can get synthetic thinking developing, so you can begin to work on your system. So if you wanted sales to go up, then we would need to, if we wanted to go up to, let's say, 800,000, then we would have to change something in the system. Or maybe multiple things within the system, and try different things and learn from them, and then develop something that will increase sales. It might even be innovation, right? So that becomes an important part of improving a system. So let's take a look at the 4th chart, which is having one data point here that in the 13th month, you can see it was 810,000. It's this last point here. Now, with that 810,000, now we're above the upper control limit. We have now, whereas we had common cause between everything between 763,000 and 506,000, the upper lower control limits, now we have a point that's above it, meaning it's special. There's something we need to look at. What's happening with it? This is the time to look. And this is a way to identify that we have something special going on within our system and to identify it. Now, I don't know what this might be. It might be that you had some unique sale, maybe a one-time sale within your organization, or it might be the first point that now your sales are going to go up to 800,000. Maybe it was a new customer and this is just the first month of it. So these are the questions that managers need to understand, or executives need to understand when they're looking at their data. What's going on with my data? And without these charts, you make one of two mistakes. You could, the first mistake is treating a data point as a special cause when it's attributable to the system. So going back to my example of when it went from 595,000 to 660,000 in sales, we had movement, and we might say, boy, what a great manager I was, or what a great executive salesperson I am, or whatever it might be, when in fact it's just attributable to the system. There's nothing special about it. Now, when we get to this 810,000, it's outside the limit. Now we've identified something as special. But it's possible that you would make mistake number two, which is treating that as if it was part of the system, that 810,000 as part of the system that's running between 506,000 and 763,000. And this is why these charts are so important, because by making mistake one or two, we are doing what is called tampering with the system. We're making adjustments based off of faulty data because we don't know, we can't tell from a spreadsheet, not even a run chart really, whether the data points that we're looking at are special or common causes of variation. The charts give us clues. Now, occasionally, you may find a point outside that really is part of the system. And that's okay, but you know to check. So that's the key component. So let's go to this fifth chart. The fifth chart basically is showing another type of special cause, and there are many different rules associated with it. Don't worry about it. These two are the ones that you're going to run into more than any other. But the software that I use, and we'll talk about the software here in a little bit, is going to run these rules for you. It will identify the one point out, which you will see. And by the way, some people call it the boiling frog, right? So if you put a frog in boiling water, it's gonna feel it, right? And jump out. So most people are gonna feel that one point in chart 4. They're gonna feel that, and the frog's gonna jump out, or we're gonna know what the reason was for that data point. But chart 5 reveals something very different, which is the boiling frog, where we slowly turn up the heat, and it doesn't feel the slow incremental change in temperature. So in chart 5, it's called a run of 8, which is another type of special cause. That 8 data points are above or below the average. In this case, 634,000. You can see the 8 data points here. And you go back through these 8 data points, and you know that you have now a shift in the data that you're looking at, and that you need to recalculate the limits because something has changed in the system, and now the average has dropped down, and so will the limits will change based on these data. So we need to be able to move executives to become effective to identifying what things are attributable to the system, and therefore we need to work on the system, common cause variation, and understand everything between the limits is attributable to the system, and then anything outside of the limits or has a run of 8 in this case that I've used an example in chart 5 is telling us that there's a shift in the data. So that's what I wanted to teach today. I'm not going to go into a lot of there's so much more to this, but as an executive, if you can get this far, you're going to have a huge advantage over not only other executives, but over other organizations that aren't using this. Service industry, it's almost non-existent. Looking for a competitive advantage, learn how to use these particular charts. Now, what I'm going to be doing, I was shocked at what the price. I guess I've had Minitab and a number of different types of software over the years, some given to me for free and so forth, that how expensive statistical process control software is. And it can get very high, but I don't think you need the, it starts at, let's say, $270 and goes up to thousands of dollars. So I don't think you as an executive need all of that, because it's going to have a whole bunch of stuff in Minitab you will never use. But if you can run charts like I just showed you, then I have software. I'm going to sell it for basically $50. It's a little cumbersome because it's based off of old coding, but it works, and it works really well on a PC and Windows. If you have Parallels or something where you can run PC software on your computer, it costs, I think, $49 or something like that, $79 to run Parallels on your Mac. You can still run this software. Matter of fact, that's how I run it, is off of Parallels on my Mac. But it'll $50. I will be putting a link into this video in the description below. And if that's something that you need, and like I said, I don't see any reason why you need to spend $300 on up for something like this to do really basic things. But this software, it's called Improve It, will do everything that you need it to do. Like I said, it's $50, and I'll be putting a link in to where you can purchase it. It also has a book in it about how to download it. I actually have videos that I'll link into, probably a whole section on control charts in YouTube, a playlist, so that you can see how to download it, how to use it, and kind of this is step one. These is really basic types of charts. And for executives, for the types of data like sales and expenses and whatever else that you may be looking at and making decisions on, these data will be helpful to you and looking at it in a different way. So I can't tell you how important, in order to be an effective executive, that you understand how to look through a customer lens and a thinking lens and develop your synthetic thinking skills, and using and understanding how a system and all of those things between the limits, that's 95% of the performance of your organization, and using data to help you make better decisions. This will do it.